Hey everyone, nice to be here. Sure, my name is Ritesh Gupta. I'm based in Brooklyn, New York. I grew up in just outside of San Diego in the suburbs, and I recently created a school called Useful School, and I'm really excited to talk to you about it. I wasn't exposed to design as a profession until very late in life. There's this kind of funny yet true quote in Indian culture that is you can be whoever you want as long as you're a doctor and engineer. And if you're not a doctor and engineer, you're essentially a failure. And it still holds true to some degree across multitude of cultures, not only within Indian culture, but many people of color as well. And my lack of exposure really hindered me. I did not go to a design school professionally. I did not realize that I kind of had a knack for design until about 10 or 12 years ago. And I felt like, and I still feel like this, that I've always been a little bit behind the rest of the folks that are my peers. And in order to overcome that, I've had to work just a little bit harder. It's the first pay what you can online design school dedicated solely for people of color. Number one is the lack of representation of people of color in the design industry. We know through countless reports, countless articles, and even just anecdotally and through firsthand experience that there's a very high number of white folk as compared to non-white folk in the design industry. And there's a lot of reasons for that. They're cultural, socioeconomic, political. And one of the ways we're trying to address this lack of representation is through a design school that is as equitable as possible. So representation, equity, doing things in a way that feels very inclusive are the main goals and the main kind of issues we're trying to tackle right now. So it's this very organic kind of creation process that happened of myself challenging myself being challenged by others, creating something, talking about it publicly, iterating on it, and then officially doing the classes. Number one, it's by people of color for people of color. That means all the students are of color. That also means all of the folks that come and are guest speakers. We have a lot of secret guests come. The other thing about the actual curriculum itself is because we're doing about 3 months or so, the aim is to have a very practical outcome at the end. We are not teaching theory only here. So we're really building the next generation of change makers here that are person of color. They feel confident. They have all the elements that they need, and they didn't pay an arm and a leg for it. There are a variety of small, medium, and large companies that are supporting Useful School. They are helping cover the costs for students who are not able to pay. They are bringing folks from their companies to speak to the students. And we have a variety of these partners providing other things. They're providing not only monetary support, not only like human support, but also just goodwill and putting their mark and saying, we are interested in the mission and love the mission of Useful School. We love supporting everything that is happening, and we want to be around for the long haul. And if anybody wants to get involved and talk about the typical ways we partner with companies and organizations, how we can do something custom together, just email me, ritesh@usefulschool.com, and I'm happy to talk about it. It was important for me when I was creating this school to be reflective of my personality. I'm a very outgoing person, very extroverted. I wear loud clothes. My favorite color is orange. It's like really important for me to make sure that there's no cognitive dissonance between the school and like myself and like other instructors and the general vibe of the school. Meaning, I didn't want this school to feel pretentious. I didn't want this school to feel very cold and icy. I wanted the school to feel very warm. I wanted the school to be very inviting. And I wanted the school to feel like really fun and cool. I think number one is we have to recognize that there are cultural barriers to allowing more persons of color to enter the industry. That means that there is a relationship between the design world, the creative world in general, and what families know. For example, first generation immigrants know about design and its place in the world. That without overcoming that in tandem for the work that various institutions are doing, it's going to be very difficult to en masse have persons of color being able to come into the industry. There has to be other institutions that really work with Useful School to really blow this thing in a huge way. And the second challenge is the expense that is traditionally had in folks' minds of how much it costs to pursue a design career. Number one, I do want to point you to the fact that you should be hiring like people of color, full stop. Don't just hire the chief diversity officer who is of color and just stop there. We need to be hiring, for example, the students. These students are so qualified and so damn talented. They deserve to be hired and have everything in the world. Number one is representation. And we need to be working faster so that way there's parity in 5 years rather than in 30. Number two is there's an alarming number of people of color who are leaving the creative industry as compared to non-people of color. So we need to be making sure that we're not only hiring designers of color, but they're happy. The other thing is that there's salaries that are way out of line here for people of color versus non-people of color. So it's going to be really important for salary parity and salary transparency to be the norm. There's a few things. Number one is we are going to be launching merch at some point. That's going to be like a more longer term thing. The other thing that we're doing is the Mom and Dad I Want to Be a Designer website. That's also a long-term thing. In terms of the short-term things, we're launching new classes. We're going to have more classes for product designers. We're going to be having a variety of branding classes. We also have a huge wait list for lifestyle classes, including financial wellness and other classes, including music production and like fashion. And like we have all these other classes that we have also in the long term as well. Being able to like doing this work in a way that's super satisfying. There are direct outcomes. There are traceable outcomes, and the momentum just needs to continue building, and I'm really excited to continue building with everybody.